Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Dinkelman. In this section, we're going to talk about how we determine whether we want to use the disc washer or the cylindrical shell on the AP exam. And we have to make that decision because they're not going to specifically say what technique we could use or should use. Sometimes we could choose either, but one of them might be a little easier than the other. So I found this table with some advice on just what they would look like. So remember, for going around, let's say the x-axis, our disc washer is going to be a dx, but our cylindrical shell would be a dy. They're opposites of each other, which is why we like them, because sometimes one way is easier than the other. So here's my advice. I always try to do the disc washer first because it's the one that makes the most sense to my brain. And then when that doesn't work, then I just try the other method. So you have to kind of be willing to just try something and see what happens. Okay, so let's talk about A and B here. So let's see, they're the same function, and if I just factor out the x, then I'm going to have 4 minus x, just so I can get an idea of what this looks like. So it's going to cross the x-axis at 0 and at 4, and it's an upside down parabola, so we're talking about this. And we're just going around the x-axis for part A. So I'm going to make myself a copy over there. X-axis, that's not the x-axis, that's the y-axis. Let's try again. So I make a copy over here, and so this is actually just going to be a disk. It's not even going to have a hole in the center. So this is a dx, which is fine for me because that's just going to be the right way. We're already in y equals. So we're just talking about the pi r squared method. 0 to 4, and the radius of that is just the function. Okay, so now let's rotate that around the y. So that was the one I was trying to do earlier as part B. And again, I attempt to just do a disc washer first. So I would do that and say, oh, I want to do a dy. Oh boy, that's going to be difficult. I don't think I can get this to say x equals in terms of y. So let's abandon ship and let's just suddenly change this into a cylindrical shell. Again, that visual might not be needed. So in my mind, I just think, okay, it's 2 pi x f of x dx. Okay, what adjustments do I need to make? Well, remember that if I'm rotating around a different axis, I have to adjust my radius, but I don't have to in this case. And if there's more than one function involved, I would have to adjust that for the height. Well, neither one of those is the case here. So 2 pi x f of x dx. Now, this might be a little confusing. I didn't really touch on it in the earlier, but think about the original region that you created here, this upside down parabola, and what the x values were for that. So it was 0 to 4, and that's what we're going to choose for these, in case that was confusing before. So again, my advice, try the disc washer first. If something happens or you just can't solve for that one thing, then try the cylindrical shell method.